Fishing in simplicity. I live in Louisiana, not far from Lake Charles. It's a backwater kind of place surrounded by bayou and meandering molasses streams. Water barely moving at all. The streams know they are eventually going to end up lost in the ocean. A drop in the bucket, so to speak, and they are in no hurry to get there. This is as good a place as any to meander. This being my hometown, Simplicity, Louisiana, there isn't too much to the town. I guess that's why the name fits so well. It was on this Simplicity backwaters when I was 8 years old that I made what I thought was the most historical of discoveries. Any one of 100 lazy summer nights. My granddaddy would tell the story of an old house lost in the swamps, where slaves used to hide out before the Civil War. The old house is gone, but his story has it that the place kind of lights up once in a while, as all filled with ghosts and such. The only remnant of the house is a staircase that seems to go nowhere. That's why I suppose they call it Nowhere House. That's why when I found an old stone staircase that butted up against a sinkhole filled with water that fed Syrup Creek, I thought for sure I had found Nowhere House. My granddaddy just laughed and left. He said it was the old Dalkane and place that washes away the flood of 63. There's nothing left except for 13 steps up and no drop to the water. Fewer than 1,000 people live in Simplicity, and most of them work for the WildSP and seed, or they don't work at all. The WildSP does about everything. It's a flour mill where grain is grown, and they even have a shed out back where cayenne pepper is made into hot sauce that would leave blisters on the sun. In front of the flour mill and lumber yard is the big store where you can buy anything and everything. A cart of fresh milk, barbecue sausages, persimmons, leaf, crawdads, and even fishing tackle and lures. It was the fishing tackle that drew me to the wheels. When I was 9, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, but that never stopped me from wishing up and down the fishing easels. early spring of my 10th birthday, the village decorated. The main window on the big front porch side of the store with a fishing pole and all the ring. It wasn't one of those long cane poles like my granddaddy used. It was a spinning wheel with a pole made of fiberglass. I wanted that pole in the worst of ways. Early in the morning, before the sun hit everything beyond intolerable, I stood beside that window and started. I don't know how many times I found myself standing there, starting when I heard the school bell ring on the other side of town. I was late so many times that the principal, Mr. Dosser, taped a piece of paper with my name on it to the chair outside his office. Now I loved fish. There was nothing better, but I didn't have a fancy rig. I only had a length of fishing line with a bobber and a birdless hook tied to the end. I always kept the line rolled up in my pocket because I just never knew when a fishing opportunity was going to happen. Sometimes opportunity does knock, and when it does, you better open the door fast before it runs away. On Wednesday, 2 weeks after Easter, there was a sign at the village. The sign told of a catfish catching contest. Not a big deal in simplicity. We have catfish catching contests all the time. What made this special was the prize, the pole, and you in the window. I may have only been 10 years old, but I had better feeling for a catfish than any of the adults in town. Even my granddaddy said so. That was hard for him because he was pretty good in his own right. He was enchanted by the competition himself. You see, he fished with a big old cane pole and on a single line, and the fancy rig would do him real proud. It was my granddaddy who first taught me how to fish, but I kept on learning. The pole was going to be mine, and I told him so. So there ended up being a contest within the contest. Me against my granddaddy. But my granddaddy never knew that I had a secret plan. There were two basic rules. You could only catch one catfish fresh on the day of the contest, and there was a time limit. Since most folks who live here don't have a watch, the contest was ruled to be over half past dark, 30 minutes after sunset. No exceptions. In other words, if you were fishing and it got dark and all, you'd better hightail it to the wilderness with whatever you had caught. I got off to a real bad start. My granddaddy intentionally let me sleep in. He didn't try to wake me at all. He brewed himself a thermos of coffee and sneaked went down to the creek. I woke up, sweating with the sun full on my face, a bad sign that it was 10 o'clock or so. I should have given up on my secret plan then, there and there, but like my granddaddy, I'm not one to give up on much of anything. I pulled on some faded jeans, yanked on a t-shirt, and stuffed the rolled line into my pocket. I didn't wear shoes, it was hot, and I always thought shoes were bad luck anyway. I needed all the luck I could get now. The slam of the screen door woke the neighbor's dog as I bolted from the house and trotted down Sugar Creek Lane. It wasn't much a road, more of a dirt route that wound through the swamp, cedar, and weeping magnolia. Along the way, I could hear Granddaddy down at the creek laughing at me as I passed on me. Though it was late, I stuck to my plan, fishing from the top step of the flooded quaint place. I just had a feeling that there was a big cat there with my name on it, just like on my chair at the principal's house. I climbed it up the moss-covered stairs and pulled the line from my pocket. I sat down at the top, my legs dangling over, reflecting in the still water of the sinkhole. I reached over and pulled back a slab of thick French moss. They're all white and juicy, were the biggest, plumpest gloves you ever saw. I scoured one onto my barbless hook and let it drop squiggling on into the water. It sank from sight. The red and white bobber was the only sign that something was up.